Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox, and we're going to go back to the Tory party conference. And again, this is something directly relating to the SNP. It's kind of, nothing's confirmed, nothing's written down, nothing's carved in stone yet, but Douglas Ross is making a claim. And if it's true, I really hope it is, but if it's true, it opens up another front in the sort of the civil war between the SNP and the Greens. It will show an increasing rifting, shall we say, between the two parties. It's an interesting concept, and I do hope. Desperately, we know we're into the rumour zone, we're into the hearsay zone, but it's one of those where I really do hope that this is absolutely true. So we will have a look to see what Douglas Ross is claiming. But before I do, I will just want to take 1 second to thank somebody. Steve Small, thank you very much. Your generosity has no bounds, and once again, you have been an absolute star. Thank you very much. I appreciate it each and every time. Tip hat. Anyway, we'll have a look, see what Douglas Ross is saying. Here goes. Now, before we go into this, I will say I'm getting a lot of mileage out of this Tory party conference. I wasn't expecting it. Normally these things are as dry as old bones, aren't they? Blah, 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 reduced taxation. Blah, 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 rights and freedoms. Blah, 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 I'm not having an affair with Edwina Curry. But this one, it's been quite a trailblazer. Who knew? Obviously yesterday we had Mowgli sort of taking, the mick out of Nicola Sturgeon and her troubles, as it were. And then today, Douglas Ross is having a go. Douglas Ross is sort of basically driving a wedge between the Greens and the SNP, and he's doing it in such a clever way. Who knew? Who knew? Anyway, Douglas Ross in talks with SNP rebels about bringing down Humza Yousaf and voting out the Greens. How? He's the Tory leader in Scotland. How on earth is he doing this? Anyway, the Scottish Conservative leader said the Green SNP coalition has been one of the worst things for Scotland. Okay, I'm going to agree with him with that, yeah. And revealed that the backbench Nats are thinking about siding with the Tories to vote it down. If that happens, that is truly astonishing, isn't it? Where you're going to get the SNP, people from the SNP, literally siding with the Tories. Now we know this has happened once before in recent memory, as in Fergus Ewing a few weeks ago when he voted to try and oust Jeffrey. But alas, no one else in the SNP did, and Jeffrey remains. And there she is, look, there's Jeffrey with Humza, pretending that she's popular, pretending that she knows what she's doing. She probably hasn't got a clue about how to hold that banner. Oh my God, I can't get over how stupid that woman is and how annoying she really is. She just annoys me. Even though just her face annoys me. I've got to that point, I can't even look at her. Anyway, the leader of the Scots Tories has had talks with frustrated SNP backbenchers about bringing down Humza Yousaf and his deeply unpopular administration and pushing for a snap Holyrood election. Is it that bad in the SNP that the backbenchers would rather go to the polls than carry on with Humza Yousaf in control? I think it is, because I think what they actually recognise is that the SNP is not the government of Scotland. The Greens are the government of Scotland, and it's the SNP backing them up. That's where we are. Douglas Ross made this bombshell claim at the Conservative conference in Manchester, just days after Nat rebel Fergus Ewing was suspended from the party for siding with the Tories in a confidence vote against hapless Green moron Lorna Slater. Mr. Ross said, I have spoken to members of the SNP who have raised concerns with me about the direction of their government and would look at ways that Parliament can hold the SNP to account. This clearly shows a frustration with some members of the current governing party in Scotland at the moment, where their own leadership is not listening to them. And we know the SNP leadership don't listen to anyone, least of all their own people. They barely listen to each other. He suggested an alliance between the pro-UK parties and the rebel backbenchers to vote down the coalition between Mr Yousaf's government and the Scottish Greens. And he said, I've made it very clear, if I can see there's an opportunity to have a vote in the Scottish Parliament to end the Butte House Agreement, then I hope some of these dissenting voices in the SNP would get behind that and vote the Greens out of office. Now, we know there's been the behind the scenes thing, so we know this from other reports, that virtually every backbencher wants this Butte House Agreement gone, because they know that this agreement is going to cost them seats at the next election. Certainly half the parliamentary party at Westminster are going to lose their seat, and possibly as much as a half, if not a third, certainly, maybe up to a half of Holyrood may lose their seats come the next Holyrood elections, simply because the public are so disenfranchised with where they've gone with the Greens. And so these people are sitting there going, oh my God, we're going to lose my seat. God. Then they'd rather have the snap election now and get rid of the Greens and go back in on the promise that they won't go into coalition with the Greens than carry on with the Greens and guarantee that they will lose their seats. His comments came on the same day that Kate Forbes, who's also understood to be deeply opposed to the SNP's deal with the Greens, accused the current administration of ignorance about the Highlands. Well, we covered that yesterday. They don't know anything other than the Central Belt and its sort of orbiting periphery. You know, it's basically Dumfries, Glasgow, as I'm looking at it, as you're looking at it, Glasgow to Edinburgh, Falkirk to Dumfries. It's basically that central area. That's it. That's all they know and care about. If you live, further north than that, then really you're with the possible exception of Dundee. You're the other side of the bridge. We'll count you, but you might as well be in a foreign land once you go across that bridge. For the rest of it, and certainly Inverness and Aberdeen and that, Altnahara and all that. The islands, you don't exist to these people because they aren't important. You aren't important because you're not part of that elitist Central Beltist area. Anyway, asked about her latest intervention, Mr Ross said Kate Forbes and others have raised serious concerns about the SNP leadership and the direction of the Scottish government. Well, everyone's worried about the direction. They don't know where they're going either. It is leaderless, directionless, feckless, brainless, and without any kind of sense. But it is corrupt, criminal, and, degenerate. Let's put it that way. He warned that the rebels have to ultimately decide what is more important, adding, is it backing Humza Yousaf and the SNP to continue being in office, to agitate for independence at every opportunity, or whether it is standing up for their constituents whom even the SNP can see they've let down by the SNP after 16 years in power. Mr Ross, of course, he declined to reveal which MSPs he'd approached because doesn't want to get him in trouble, or to say how many he had these conversations with. He said, but he's added, I am saying I have been contacted and I have had discussions with backbench members of the SNP. I don't doubt that. I really don't doubt that. Because, as we said, there's so many of them now are so against this that they need opposition help. And they're willing, I think, to cut a deal with the opposition saying, look, we'll do this. Help us break this and we'll go in and travel from there. But, basically for the good of Scotland, The Butte House Agreement was signed by Nicola Sturgeon in the summer of 2021. Worst thing ever did. And this is despite Patrick Harvey and Miss Slater's hard left, Maoist, or almost certainly Stalinist left party, winning just 8% of the vote. And since then, the minority coalition partners have been responsible for driving through a number of hardcore anti-growth, anti-car policies that have infuriated many traditional nationalists. Well, they've failed in everything they've done, and thank God they have. Thank heavens to God that they have failed with every single thing they've tried to get through, because it is sheer lunacy. And she was basically thrown out of Canada for being too far to the left And this is Trudeau's country. And so if she's thrown out because she's unpalatable to Canadians, my God, she's made a right pig's ear of her career, hasn't she? Anyway, I'll round off and come up. Now, I would love to know which MSPs or MPs or anyone, any politicos that he's been talking to. It would be, I mean, I wouldn't, if I knew, I wouldn't tell. I really wouldn't tell. But I think I know possibly one or two that it's likely to be. I think we all know one or two that it's likely to be. And I'm mentioning no names, Fergus and Kate. But how many others? And it wouldn't surprise me. It really wouldn't surprise me if there were more than a few. If there were the possibility of him putting forward a motion and getting a few back, he doesn't need many, just a few backbenchers to swing over and join him on a vote and force an issue. It could open a rift within these two parties, and you could get the Greens stamping their tiny little feet and buggering off, and it would be brilliant, wouldn't it? And Geoffrey and the dwarf can just disappear, and they can never raise their funny-looking heads again. Anyway, it's all speculation, but it is hopeful speculation. So we will go forward, you know, with hope in our heart, a smile on our face, and with the possibility of the breakdown of the Green SNP alliance, and finally get rid of this Green government. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and I hope this has earned a subscription. Do please hit that button. And while your thumb's out hitting that button, use it to give it a thumbs up and a like on the video. Till next time, stay safe, stay well, and remember, it won't be long till Geoffrey's gone. Bye.